When researchers fed AI the deepest scans of the mysterious Olmec heads, they expected stone and silence. What they got were signs of chambers, engineered geometry, and resonance aligned with Earth itself. These weren't just monuments. They might be machines, built to remember, not to speak, and that terrified the world. The silent giants. What are the Olmec colossal heads? In the thick heat of Veracruz and Tabasco, Mexico, something massive sleeps beneath the soil. For centuries they were hidden, forgotten by time, until one by one they began to surface. The Olmec colossal heads. Towering up to 3 meters tall and weighing more than 25 tons each, these enormous sculptures are carved from solid basalt, a rock hauled from quarries over 90 kilometers away. No wheels, no metal, no beasts of burden, just human hands moving mountains. There are 17 of them, all found in just 3 ancient Olmec centers, San Lorenzo, La Venta, and Tres Zapotes. And each head is unique. Heavy-lidded eyes, fleshy cheeks, broad noses, and thick lips. Their faces aren't abstract, they're personal, intimate, as if sculpted to immortalize someone specific. But there's no writing, no names, no known stories to explain who they were. The heads stand alone, silent, yet their gaze is unforgettable. They look like they're watching something we've forgotten, an archaeologist once said in 1972. And that single idea, forgotten knowledge, would quietly spark a modern reawakening. Because if we've only studied their surface, what secrets still lie inside? An ancient mystery. Too big to ignore, the first head was unearthed in the mid-1800s, mistaken for a strange boulder. It wasn't until the 20th century that scientists realized it was part of something larger, something deliberate. More heads followed. Same massive size, same absence of bodies. Just heads, alone. It didn't fit. The Olmec were the earliest known civilization in Mesoamerica, and yet these sculptures felt like they didn't belong. They weren't religious idols. They weren't tombs. They weren't statues in the traditional sense. And most strangely, no one had ever cracked one open, not physically, not digitally. They were always assumed to be solid stone, ancient, yes, but inert. But the questions piled up. Why go to such extremes to create and move these? Why sculpt them with such precision, only to leave no written explanation? Why only the heads? And so, for more than 100 years, archaeology stayed on the outside. Theories came and went, but the stone stayed silent. Until now, because today, we don't just dig, we scan, we simulate, we listen. And with the rise of AI, we've finally been able to do what no one else ever could. Look inside. The AI revolution. Archaeologists turned to advanced technology. In 2023, researchers turned to the one tool ancient sculptors never imagined: artificial intelligence. After decades of surface studies, the heads were finally subjected to structured light scanning, laser mapping, and digital density analysis. Non-destructive methods powerful enough to probe deep inside without a single crack. These weren't just pretty pictures. AI created fully detailed 3D models of both the external and internal structure. Every pore, fracture, and cavity mapped in exacting detail. For the first time in over 3,000 years, scientists could peer inside the stone, layer by layer, atom by atom. What they found almost instantly rewrote the script. It wasn't just solid basalt. Inside, there were anomalies, irregularities, lines, shapes, shadows, geometric patterns that had no business being inside naturally formed rock. "This changes everything," said one technician, as the scans lit up in ways no one expected. And that was only the beginning. The AI models hinted at more, things hidden within these silent giants that no theory had ever predicted. The heads weren't just carved, they were engineered. Insides that shouldn't exist. What AI found first, the first breakthrough came from a scan of head number 4 from La Venta. Beneath the surface, the AI detected an arrangement of internal lines, too straight, too evenly spaced, and far too precise to be the result of chance. These weren't cracks or stress marks. They were intentional. One section revealed what looked like a hollow channel, a tunnel carved inside the stone, hidden for millennia. Another showed density anomalies, areas where the stone was either unnaturally light or unusually compact. The basalt, supposedly uniform, was anything but. More unsettling were the internal surfaces that appeared worked. Some were smooth, others bore faint geometric impressions, like panels or frames. The patterns didn't match any known geological process. They weren't natural. But they also didn't match what we know of Olmec tools either. Nothing in here makes sense, one researcher whispered during the second AI run. If these features were real, and all signs said they were, then the heads were far more than symbolic art. They were complex, deliberate, something meant to do more than simply exist. And just as they began decoding the interior, the AI turned its focus back to the surface, revealing things even the sharpest human eye had missed. Secrets on the surface. Invisible markings revealed with AI fully rendering every square millimeter. Scientists re-examined the exterior of the heads, not with eyes, but with algorithms. What they found were ultra-fine carvings, too faint for humans to ever notice. Perfectly straight microlines, spaced with machine-like accuracy, crisscrossed the stone in parallel patterns, especially near the temples and jawline of head number 8 from San Lorenzo. The breakthrough came when a tiny spiral symbol was detected on the back of head number 12, no larger than a fingernail, and so shallow it had escaped in all previous analysis. Under natural light it vanished, but with filtered scans it glowed faintly, like something meant to be hidden until the right moment. Some of these lines even intersected in ways that matched ancient mathematical ratios, possibly golden ratios or sacred geometry forms, common in modern design, but never before seen in Olmec sculpture. It wasn't weathering, it wasn't erosion. These lines were intentional, etched with precision, left for someone, maybe not in their time, but in ours, to find. It's like they wrote something in code, one AI specialist commented, just not in a language we ever expected. And this hidden design was only the surface. The proportions of the faces themselves told an even more unusual story. Symmetry too perfect, signs of advanced craftsmanship. Head number 10, excavated in Tres Zapotes, was flagged by the AI for something unusual. Not within, but in its face. When mirrored along a vertical axis, the features aligned with near-perfect symmetry. The eyes, the mouth, even the curvature of the cheeks matched almost exactly. This kind of mathematical precision is incredibly rare in hand-carved stone. Human artists, even the best, introduce slight imperfections. That's what makes sculpture feel alive. But this, it felt measured, calculated, like a design carved with the aid of tools we don't understand, or processes now lost to time. When researchers compared it to traditional Olmec carving techniques, hammerstones, basalt chisels, abrasive sand, the fit didn't make sense. The marks, the finishes, the proportions, none of it matched the expected signs of ancient tooling. It's like comparing a hand-drawn circle to one made with a laser, said a digital sculpting expert during the analysis. If this was crafted by humans, then they had access to techniques we've never recovered. If not, then someone else was guiding the process, something capable of engineering stone with microscopic control. Either way, the message was becoming harder to ignore. These heads weren't just expressions of power, they were designed with a purpose, and possibly with knowledge far beyond their time. Buried resonance, evidence of sound-related purpose. The next discovery didn't come from sight, but from sound. When researchers tested the heads for acoustic properties, something strange happened. At specific frequencies, notably around 7.83 Hertz, the stone began to vibrate, softly but unmistakably. That frequency, it closely matches the Schumann resonance, Earth's natural electromagnetic pulse that resonates between the ground and the atmosphere. This wasn't just random humming. When tones were played near head number 6, located in La Venta, sensors detected a faint but stable resonance emanating from within, amplified by the internal hollow channel AI had discovered earlier. Some heads seemed to respond, their vibrations forming standing wave patterns like a tuning fork buried in basalt. It raised a chilling possibility. The heads weren't silent at all. They were designed to react to sound, not speech, but deep atmospheric frequencies, tones that occur naturally in the environment. Could they have been part of a larger acoustic structure, a resonance network tuned to the earth itself? These sculptures may have been listening, not just watching, one acoustics engineer remarked. Sound, once dismissed as irrelevant to stone art, was now central. And it wasn't the only force the heads seemed aligned with. Celestial and earth alignments, more than just art. As the AI stitched together digital maps of all 17 heads, something remarkable emerged. Alignment. Their placement across San Lorenzo, La Venta, and Tres Zapotes wasn't random. Several heads pointed along axes that matched solstice sunrise positions. Others, when traced across geography, formed angles that aligned with Orion's belt, a star formation deeply embedded in ancient mythologies around the world. More unexpectedly, the AI found a pattern in magnetic orientation. Many of the heads' faces were aligned within a narrow range of geomagnetic north, not true north. That would have required knowledge of Earth's magnetic field, thousands of years before the invention of compasses. Even the distances between heads revealed mathematical relationships, ratios that mirrored lunar cycles and celestial orbits. These weren't scattered relics. They were nodes in a larger, hidden system, possibly ritualistic, possibly scientific. If we saw this kind of pattern in a modern context, we'd call it an array, said one astronomer working on the simulation. Like antennas or beacons. What were the Olmec aligning to? Stars, Earth's core, vibrations we don't yet understand? One thing was becoming clear. These weren't just statues. They were part of something bigger. Theories that terrified researchers. When the AI finished compiling its models, after weeks of high-resolution scans, cross-referenced data, and structural simulations, what it revealed left the research team stunned. These weren't just carvings. Several of the Olmec heads showed signs of sealed internal chambers, enclosed spaces carefully concealed within the basalt. They couldn't be accessed, not without breaking the stone open and risking the destruction of priceless artifacts. But their shapes were unmistakable. Some resembled acoustic cavities, similar to what modern engineers use in resonance chambers and frequency modulators. The shock deepened when mineral analysis showed banding deep inside the heads, layers of material that didn't match the original quarry rock. These bands weren't natural inclusions. They seemed deliberately placed. Their geometry was too orderly, their composition subtly different. It was as if parts of the heads had been engineered internally, not carved from the outside, but built layer by layer, like a functional object rather than a work of art. Then the AI began to correlate everything, from sound tests to alignment data. What emerged was more than just coincidence. The heads, when plotted on a map, aligned in precise geometric patterns. Their orientation to magnetic north, their response to specific frequencies, even their distances from one another, began to form a pattern. Not artistic, not random, but structured, predictable, intentional. One researcher called it a vibrational network, a system of interconnected structures potentially designed to interact with Earth's natural electromagnetic field. Each head might have played a role in amplifying, tuning, or recording environmental frequencies, acting not as monuments, but as instruments. Instruments tuned not to human ears, but to the planet itself. This theory upended everything. If true, it suggested the Olmec civilization had access to principles of acoustics, magnetism, and even planetary energy long before such sciences had names. They weren't just sculpting history into stone, they were embedding technology into the earth. This isn't lost craftsmanship, a senior analyst whispered. This is lost science. And then came the most unsettling thought of all, voiced quietly by one of the project leads. Maybe they weren't monuments. Maybe they were machines. Machines that once served a function. Machines that were designed to remember, respond, or even resonate with something bigger. And as those words echoed in the lab, centuries of archaeological certainty began to fracture. The heads were no longer just a mystery of the past. They had become a challenge to the present. What this means for humanity's past. If the Olmec were truly capable of engineering stone at this scale, if they understood not only the artistry of form, but the invisible forces of sound, magnetism, and celestial motion, then our understanding of ancient civilization is not just incomplete. It may be fundamentally flawed. The story we tell ourselves about the slow, linear rise of human progress might be missing not just a few chapters, but entire volumes, buried, forgotten, or perhaps deliberately hidden. These heads may not be statues at all. They could be ritual instruments, cosmic libraries, or fragments of a planetary technology tuned to forces we are only beginning to explore. They don't just stare back at us, they challenge us to rethink what's possible, to consider that ancient minds may have grasped principles that modern science is only now rediscovering. The evidence is no longer theoretical. The AI scans are real. The internal structures, the acoustic responses, the magnetic alignments, they exist. They demand explanation. And they whisper of a civilization that may have measured time not in centuries, but in celestial cycles. That may have seen the Earth not as a backdrop, but as a living system they could interact with. Could the Olmec have preserved something? A message encoded in stone? A resonance built not for ears, but for time itself? Something meant to remain silent until the right minds and the right tools were ready to hear it? Because when the AI reached its final conclusion, after modeling every line, every hollow, every hidden mark, it didn't describe a monument of power, or a symbol of worship, or even a memorial to forgotten rulers. It gave us something else entirely. One line, one terrifying, beautiful idea. The heads were not built to speak. They were built to remember. To remember not just people, but perhaps knowledge, a kind of memory etched into stone, immovable, uncorrupted, eternal. And now, after thousands of years of silence, they may be speaking again, not with voices, but with data, with resonance, with patterns we are just beginning to decode. We've uncovered the first layer, but the question still lingers like a hum beneath the earth itself. What else might they remember? And more importantly, what have we already forgotten? The discovery has forced a reckoning, not only with our understanding of the Olmec, but with the limits of human history itself. For centuries, we believed these colossal heads were simple relics, carved to honor rulers or gods. But now evidence points to something far more advanced, something we're only just beginning to comprehend. I didn't just find carvings or patterns. It found structure, purpose, technology embedded in stone, resonating frequencies, magnetic alignments, engineered layers. None of it makes sense within the framework of what ancient civilizations were supposed to know. If these heads were truly part of a vibrational network, if they were designed to interact with Earth's natural forces, then the implications are staggering. It means we may not be the first to try mapping the planet's deeper rhythms. We may not be the first to build machines from stone. So what else is waiting in silence, just beneath the surface? What other secrets lie dormant in the bones of our past? The Olmec didn't leave behind books or blueprints. They left behind watchers. And only now, with AI, are we finally learning what they came here to remember.